Hello, I'm Kurt Leyendecker with the law firm of Leyendecker and Lemire, and this is Intellectual Property in 6 minutes. We're going to give you the basics in this first part of a video tutorial series, the basics of intellectual property, that's patents, trademarks, copyrights, and trade secrets. In future video segments, we're going to go into depth with respect to the various types of intellectual property. We're also going to have segments concerning the use of intellectual property and how you, whether an individual or a business, can use that to your benefit. This tutorial is sponsored by Leyendecker and Lemire. We are a Denver-based intellectual property and business law firm that offers a full spectrum of intellectual property and business legal services. We pride ourselves in providing large firm quality, but with personalized service and attention that large firms often do not provide to their smaller clients. Our strength is working with a client from the beginning of his or her venture to maximize the venture's value and potential, as well as help minimize the risks of legal disputes. Anyway, let's get on with it. Next slide is a disclaimer, and after that I'll come back and we'll discuss more about intellectual property in 6 minutes. I'm back. In this slide we're going to talk about what is intellectual property. But before we do that, I want to direct your attention right below me here. That is the IP address for the firm as well as a phone number. If you have any specific questions concerning IP matters, give that number a call and we can help you out. Now, we do offer a free half-hour consultation to new clients, so take advantage of that at your leisure. What is intellectual property? Let's answer that quickly. That is creations of the mind to which property rights have been conferred by a government, whether that's the United States government, other countries, or whether there's a treaty between various countries concerning various types of intellectual property. Some of the basic types of intellectual property are inventions. Inventions can include both physical items as well as methods of doing things. Literary works, books, magazines, poems, anything that's written material, that can be protected as well. Also artistic works, paintings, art, sculpture, that kind of stuff, music. And then finally we have symbols, names, images, and designs used in commerce. And when we talk about that, we want to talk about the names of companies, the names of products that you are familiar with. Let's move on and discuss intellectual property rights. What are they? How do you get them? Intellectual property rights vary with the type of IP, but we can make the following statement, generally speaking, that the holder of intellectual property can regulate the control of the use of the intellectual property by others in some fashion. Some types of IP allow greater control, some less. But in general, if you hold a right in IP, you're going to have some ability to minimize or to regulate the use of that IP by others. Now, the rights that you get vary depending on the type of IP that you have, and also whether that IP is registered with the government. So, there's a couple things to consider here, and that's the big but here. Registration is not required for you to use your IP. If you come up with a new invention, you don't have to get a patent. You can go ahead out and make, use, and sell it, assuming you're not violating someone else's intellectual property rights. You don't need to get a patent, and we're going to get into that more later in this presentation as well as in future presentations. Finally, for this slide at least, registration does not necessarily confer a right for you to use or practice your IP. Now, if you look at those 2 bullet points, you're going to say, God, those are confusing, and yes, they are. You wouldn't be paying an intellectual property attorney a lot of money to help you out with your intellectual property issues if this stuff were simple. So let's go on and discuss the various types of intellectual property. There are essentially 4 types of intellectual property. Patents, they protect inventions. Inventions can be physical things or they can be methods of doing something. Secondly, copyrights. Now, copyrights are kind of the opposite of patents in the sense that they protect creative works. Patents protect what we would legally describe as useful works. Copyright protects creative works, again, music, art, literary works, those kinds of things. Then we go in and we've got trademarks. Trademarks protect source identifiers, or as most people would know, brand names, brands of products, the particular look of a product. Those things can all be protected with trademark law, under trademark law, whether you're protecting a service or a product. And we're going to get that into all this in greater detail in future segments. Finally, one of the most overlooked areas of IP law, and if you're a company owner and you don't have trade secrets agreements, well, you're probably putting yourself at risk. But trade secrets are the fourth area of IP, and that's going to protect company proprietary information. You have to treat it in the proper way and deal with it in the proper manner. But if you do that, extremely valuable area of intellectual property. We're about ready to wrap it up for this video segment. Future segments, we're going to talk in more depth about patents, trademarks, copyrights, trade secrets. We're also going to get into how you license your intellectual property, the cost considerations of obtaining intellectual property registration and protection, as well as how you can use that intellectual property to your benefit, whether you're an individual or a business. And we're going to talk about how you can strategically use your intellectual property as well, and much, much more. There'll be a lot of topics that come up. I could talk for hours, if not days, on this topic. So hopefully over the next year or so, we're gonna have a lot of different things to talk about. Thanks for joining us. Again, if you have any questions, go to our website. You can find an email link to me. Feel free to email me, give me a call. We'd like to help you out. Thanks a lot.